The Arizona Cardinals are playing the New York Jets and Aaron Rodgers at the perfect time in Week 10.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Cardinals, Alex Clancy here. Follow me on Twitter, Clancy's Corner _ Follow the podcast at Locked On AZ Cards. Thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen free wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Please go to the YouTube channel, search Locked On Arizona Cardinals. Hit that subscribe button, man. Turn notifications on. Leave a comment if you want. We are in the midst of the schedule breakdown, one segment per game for the Cardinals for the entire 2024 season. Did 3 of them last week. We'll do 3 this week, and then we have camp starting next week, which is absolutely unbelievable. We're like 6 weeks away from preseason games. Like, what are we doing here? This offseason is flying by. Been in sports radio since 2011 in Phoenix, been hosting this podcast since 2017. Thank you for being a part of this chapter. I'm going into my 8th season, which is absolutely wild. Today's episode is brought to you by the Game Time app. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. The Arizona Cardinals are playing the New York Jets at the perfect time in Week 10. Their bye week is perfectly slated in Week 11, and then they go on the road to play the Seahawks for the first time, and then they'll play them again in coming weeks at home, obviously, at State Farm Stadium. So as I've been going through this schedule, going week by week, one segment at a time, it's becoming more and more increasingly clear that while the beginning of the season, the first 8 weeks or so, was an absolute murderous run, absolutely insane. I said it's the toughest stretch. The Chargers, Monday Night Football at home, and then going on the road in a short week to South Beach to play that high-powered offense in Miami, then coming back in Week 9 to play at home against Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears, the second home game in a row for the Cardinals in Week 10, Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets come to town. Now, when I say that the Cardinals are playing them at the perfect time, it's for a couple of reasons. Now, let's look inside the Cardinals' backyard. It's because we're going to know a lot more about this team through 9 weeks, especially with the tough schedule that they have up until that point. We're going to learn a lot about Kyler Murray. We're going to learn a lot about the second-year guys. We're going to learn a lot about the offensive line. We're going to learn a lot about Budda Baker and Jalen Thompson, what they are as an entity moving forward, or if the Dadrian Taylor-Demis and Rabbit's going to be taking in and really kind of taking control over from the free safety position from Budda Baker. This first half of the season is going to be incredibly insightful, not only pertaining to the Cardinals' chances to win this year, but also what the roster makeup's going to be like moving forward. So when you have the games that they played, like against the Lions, against the Rams, against the Dolphins, against the Chargers, against the Bills in Week 1, it's going to be a true test to see if the Cardinals can replicate what they did last season, infused with more talent, and hopefully have a higher floor, be able to win more games. But again, very, very difficult first 2 months of the season for the Cardinals. And then when you look at the Jets, part of the reason why, and I say it's somewhat tongue-in-cheek, that it's a great time to play the Jets is because the Jets are going to jet. The Jets are going to implode in some sort of capacity. Why do I know that? Because they always have. Why do I think that? Because they always have. Robert Saleh is on the hot seat. They've got great talent on both sides of the ball. They drafted well. I mean, you look at the offense, even if it's just Aaron Rodgers, Garrett Wilson, and Breece Hall, pretty good. The offensive line needs a little bit of work. The defense with Sauce Gardner and C.J. Mosley, etc. They've got a good defense. Quinnen Williams is one of the best interior defensive linemen in the NFL. But the longer you wait to play the Jets, the better a chance there is for some sort of implosion. And usually 9 weeks in is plenty of time for something to go haywire. And I'm not saying, I hope somebody gets injured. Never. You know that on this podcast, I never wish anybody. And for those that do, I don't really understand why. You never wish injury. Do you wish implosion due to dysfunction or otherwise? Sure. Is Aaron Rodgers a ticking time bomb? Absolutely. In myriad ways. We just don't know. He may retire halfway through the season. We have no idea what Aaron Rodgers is going to do. We know it's going to be the best serving for him and what's best for him. We do know that. So we could see the New York Jets coming in as a team that's 7-2. I'm not exactly sure when their bye week is. They have 6 or 7 wins through the first couple months, and they're a powerhouse, and they're leading the AFC East. We could see that. Or we could see a 3 or 4 win team that's like, all right, fire everybody. This Aaron Rodgers experiment didn't work. Breece Hall is being overrun. Like, what I do hope for the Jets, just as a little aside here, I hope that they don't Arian Foster Breece Hall. And what I mean by Arian Fostering, if you've been an everydayer for a long time, you'll know this. Arian Foster is one of the best running backs we've seen in a long time for like a 4-year span. And the Texans just had him touch the ball 400 times. And guess what? You get hurt when that happens. Happened to Le'Veon Bell, happened to a bunch of different guys. I call it Arian Fostering because Arian Foster, if there was more balance in that offense, he would have played probably another 3 or 4 more years at a high level. So you just hope that doesn't happen with Breece Hall. How the Cardinals can get a win against Aaron Rodgers, say all things equal, the Cardinals and Jets have the same record going into week 10. Making Aaron Rodgers uncomfortable now looks different than what making Aaron Rodgers look uncomfortable looked like 4 or 5 years ago in Green Bay. You could never really rattle Aaron Rodgers unless you were physical with him. That was always a thing. You didn't like getting thrown down. It's kind of made of paper. You know, he would get injured. He had, of course, collarbone. He's out for a long time. He would have injuries, and he would miss time. But now what it looks like is, especially with the offensive line not being as great as it once was in East Rutherford with the Jets, is the pass rush is going to reign supreme. The pass rush, and I've said this is a constant theme throughout all of these shows, like the pass rush and the cornerback room. That's going to be the litmus test for the Cardinals, pertaining to wins and losses. Can the pass rush show up? Can B.J. Ojulari take that jump? Dennis Gardeck spoke to the media, I believe, yesterday and said that he thinks that B.J. Ojulari is going to be special. B.J. Ojulari is going to be a dude. And the Cardinals haven't had a pass rusher like that since Chandler Jones. And even Chandler Jones, it was sacks for sure. But it's like, where's Chandler when he's not? Where are the pressures? Where's everything like that? Where's the consistency when he's not absolutely getting to the quarterback and taking him into the turf? So the pass rush for Aaron Rodgers, getting him uncomfortable, is something that is going to be incredibly important if the Cardinals want to win in Week 10. Home games, you cannot pass up opportunities to win irrespective of opponent. So when you look at pass rush, you look at cornerback room, Aaron Rodgers, Garrett Wilson. Aaron Rodgers, Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson can be absolutely all pro if he's got a quarterback that'll throw him the ball consistently. We've seen it. He's going to be an absolute stud. And then stopping Breece Hall is very important. I mean, I think this is much more on the defensive side of the ball than offense. The offense should be humming in some capacity through 9 weeks going into Week 10. Marvin Harrison Jr., the game, I would assume at that point, would slow down for him. Trey McBride thriving, James Conner thriving, rinse and repeat, usual suspects, Kyler Murray, everybody staying healthy. The offense should be humming. So it's really going to come down to the defense. Now, when you look at the bye week in Week 11, when I say it's a perfect time for it, it's a perfect time for it. I'll discuss why next. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by the Game Time app. Listen, Major League Baseball season, baby. There's so many different places you can sit at a baseball stadium. There's 30 of these suckers out there with so many different vantage points, so many different opportunities, whether it be foul balls, home runs, screamers down the line that people are, brave enough to sit down third base or first base line. Either way, Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier than ever. They've got deals. They've got flash sales. The tickets prices go down the closer it gets to the first opening pitch, okay? But the coolest part about Game Time is, aside from everything else, is the vantage point. You can get the viewpoint from your seats before you buy. It takes the guesswork out. I wonder what left field looks like. I wonder how far away it really looks like 5 rows up in left field. Oh, wow, that's actually not bad. Maybe I can get, into home run territory and actually still see the game. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with the Game Time app. Download the Game Time app, create an account. Use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account or redeem code LOCKEDON NFL for $20 off. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Alex Nancy, Locked On Cardinals. You like my new virtual background? It says Locked On Cardinals a bunch. I dig it. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen, free wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Week 11 is a perfect bye week time. It's perfect. It's not week 6. It's not week 19. Well, it's so crazy how there are bye weeks like week 14. Just like it's inhumane. Luckily, the Cardinals don't have to deal with that. Week 11 is perfect because if there were a barometer shift on toughness, strength of schedule, most of the tough games, aside from, they play the Rams and 49ers week 17 and week 18. Like, there's no easy part of the Cardinals schedule, especially playing in the NFC West. But if there were a pocket of games that was a winnable stretch for the Cardinals, it starts after their bye week. And I'll get into it later in the week. Week 13, 14, 15 is next. That's the most winnable stretch if the Cardinals are going to win some games, if they're going to chunk some wins. So when you look at the bye week and you look at what the Cardinals have gone through up until that point, new leaders will emerge. Past leaders will either solidify or show their colors that maybe they're not the players to lead this team into the future. There's a lot. When I say there's a lot of question marks about the Cardinals going into 2024, it's not the same question marks like, oh, Steve Cobb doesn't know what the hell he's doing. This is going to be interesting. Nobody knows what this path is. No. It's whose team is this going to be in the future? Who are going to be the new pillars? Which veterans are going to remain as pillars? Budda Baker, James Conner. Who's it going to be? Both? Neither? We'll see. Is Trey Benson going to emerge? Is Michael Wilson going to emerge? Is Greg Dortch going to emerge? Is Marvin Harrison Jr. going to be pound for pound the guy everybody thought he was since week 1? Is Max Melton CB1 for the future? Is Garrett Williams going to be leading that cornerback room talent-wise? Is BJ Ojulari truly the guy wearing number 9 going into 2024, giving up number 18 to Marvin Harrison Jr.? Is Trey McBride going to be looked at as potentially the best tight end in football? We don't know any of these things yet. They're all question marks because they're possibilities. It's not all these question marks must turn the Cardinals' way or the Cardinals are going to win 2 games. This is not that anymore. So when you go into the bye week, it's going to be time for reflection. It's going to be time for rest. It's going to be time for recovery, obviously. But the Cardinals will have played the toughest part of their schedule already. And you look at how they've withstood and how they've persevered, whatever cliche you want to use. We're going to see what this team is. And this isn't something we'll see what it is for 2024. And then, whoever they play in 2025 is going to start over. No. This momentum isn't going to let up. This is what happens when you start from scratch. You're rebuilding. The momentum begins when things are thrust into action. And it started last year, and it was very positive. Regardless of them only winning 4 games and having a top 5 pick. Doesn't matter. How they showed up to games, how they practiced, how they prepared, how they played for each other, how Jonathan Gannon led, how Monty Austinford provided talent without breaking the bank just because a cool name that he didn't want to give $100 million to. All of this is getting formulated into a way where it's going to explode soon. You would assume in a positive direction. And we'll see right now when we reflect in actual week 11, which is, I think, November 17th, is the Cardinals' bye week, I believe. We're going to see it get just ran through the mud and muck of a difficult first 10 weeks. And you're going to be able to see, Kyler Murray's really emerged. Kyler Murray's an MVP candidate. Kyler Murray, listen, yeah, he's not perfect, but look at what he's done with this team, leading this team. Look at what he's done with Marvin Harrison Jr. Look at Jonathan Gannon, Nick Rallis, and Drew Petzing, really having these guys rolling on all cylinders. Yeah, the defense is, a little bit behind the curve talent-wise and veteran leadership-wise, but they're keeping the Cardinals in games. Or, man, the Cardinals are a year away. I don't think there's going to be a world where we're going to see the Cardinals in the bye week in week 11 and change the tune by the end of the season. We're going to find out through 10 weeks what this team is in 2024. And more importantly, from a broader scope and a bird's eye view, I guess, we're going to see what this team could be in the future also. We're going to see if Drew Petzing's offense is going to work like it did last year with more talent this year. We're going to see if Kyler Murray's the guy, even though he is. We're going to see if Kyler Murray can wow people like he did at times through his first 4 years. And then obviously the beginning of 2023, or the end of 2023. There's not going to be any free passes anymore. And those first 10 weeks are going to tell so much as pertaining to the introspective look of this team. There's going to be no hiding anymore. We're going to see new leaders emerge. We're going to see veteran leaders either sustain or fall off. We're going to see a lot, and it's going to tell a lot, not only for 2024, but for the future as well. And that's why Week 11 is the perfect time for a bye for the Cardinals next season. Then they go to the Pacific Northwest, one of the most star-studded offensive rosters in the NFL. What do the Cardinals need to do to get a win in what's always the stage for weirdness when the Cardinals go to Seattle to play the Seahawks? I'll discuss it next. We wrap up here. Weeks 10, 11, and 12. Locked on Cardinals, your team every day. The Seattle Seahawks are always a fun one. It's always fun because you look at that roster. Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet in the backfield, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Jackson Smith and Jigba, who's probably going to absolutely explode this year, and Geno Smith. You know, and their defense is going to look a bit different. New head coach, new coordinators. It's going to be a different Seattle Seahawks team. Also, this is the perfect time for the beginning of the winnable stretch for the Cardinals to commence. And when you look at the beginning of the schedule, Lions, Dolphins, Chargers, a lot of good teams. And you look at the Cardinals coming off a bye, not only off a bye, but after 2 home games against the Bears and the Jets, then getting their bye. It sets the stage perfectly for a refresh, for a reboot, and go. This is going to show the resolve of the Arizona Cardinals starting in Seattle, a place where it's wild. Like, do you remember the Bruce Arians and Carson Palmer years where Chandler Jones would just wreak havoc at the CenturyLink Field, was called then? It's like whoever is the worst team wins these games. And recently it hasn't necessarily been on the Cardinals. Like, people say, oh, wins, Seattle, those are easy wins. You know the Cardinals' record? The Cardinals are like 3-6 in their last 9 games against Seattle. So I don't know where this narrative came by that the Seattle are easy wins. Like, has never been that. And the Cardinals are on a trajectory with a quarterback that always can keep them in games. Geno Smith can't win this team games like as much as Kyler Murray could. You know? So when you look at this team, and it's going to be in November, it's probably going to be raining in Seattle, the Cardinals offense. I discuss this a lot in the Locked On NFL Thursday, the national show that I do with Tyler Rowan from Locked On Titans. If you haven't checked that out, check it out. He and I, we have some fun. One of the things that I discuss a lot is I always trust teams that can run an offense and win in any weather conditions. It's like Miami. Oh, it's cold. Miami can't win in the cold because they got to throw the ball. For the Cardinals, Drew Petzing's offense travels anywhere. The thing that was missing was, first off, Kyler Murray last year, and second of all, a solid pass attack since DeAndre Hopkins was gone, since DeAndre Hopkins left. And with Marvin Harrison Jr., Michael Wilson, hopefully can stay healthy, Greg Dortch, Trey McBride, like they've got that this year. Zay Jones. So going to Seattle, it's going to be a different Arizona Cardinals team in the sense that this is probably, I'm being very ginger here when I say this, probably the most well-rounded offense the Cardinals have had since like 2015, since that NFC Championship run. And that was because Larry Fitzgerald was an absolute god on the field. He carried that passing attack. And then you had, Chris Johnson and David Johnson before Chris Johnson got hurt. But even then, like if these guys really come to fruition, like Trey Benson, like if Michael Wilson's a bona fide wide receiver too, and Greg Dortch can emerge as an absolute as a game changer when there's actual expectations for him that there hasn't been in his entire career. Like Trey McBride, if he really becomes a top 5 tight end, like him and Sam Laporta are taking charge for the next generation of tight ends, this offense is going to be silly. It's going to be insane. So when you go to Seattle and you can leverage that while understanding that Kyler Murray is much more of a game plan wrecker for opposing defenses than Geno Smith is, it's really just a matter of can the defense hold up. Surprise! We know that this defense may be a year away. Or, I mean, listen, if Max Melton and Elijah Jones and Garrett Williams and Sean Murphy-Bunting can just take that huge 0-1 jump for the cornerback room, and if BJ Ojulari and Darius Robinson can become the pass rush for the future, sure, this defense could be top 15. All you need is the defense to be top 20. All you need is for the Cardinals defense to be top 20, and they're a contention for a playoff spot this year. Because if they're a top 20 defense, they're winning more games than we expect. So when you go to the Pacific Northwest, it's hostile. The games are always weird. They're ugly. But this is a perfect time, just like it was perfect time in Week 10 for the Cardinals to play the Jets, just like it was a perfect time in Week 11 for the bye week. This is a perfect time to start the Seattle Seahawks portion of the season because the Cardinals will have gone through the gauntlet already. And now they're poised and ready after 2 home games, after a bye week, to go to the Pacific Northwest and steal a dub from the Seahawks. You getting excited for the season yet? Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals. Again, please go to the YouTube channel. Search Locked On Arizona Cardinals. Hit that subscribe button. I will be doing weeks 13, 14, 15 tomorrow and 16, 17, 18 on Friday as we wrap this up with camp right around the corner. Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals. Remember, without you, there is no me. I'll talk to you tomorrow.